That's for sure. We're going to ask former SEC Commissioner Roberta Karmel which names she'd put on that list to replace Harvey Pitt, who resigned on Election Day. You are watching Morning Call on CNBC on this Veterans Day. We will be right back.
On NBC's Meet the Press yesterday, White House Chief of Staff Andrew Card said that the Bush administration is in no hurry to replace Harvey Pitt as SEC chairman. How long could the process take, and what will they look for in a replacement? Joining us is Roberta Karmel, former SEC commissioner and professor at Brooklyn Law School. Thanks for being with us this morning.
Well, thank you for having me here.
You say that the SEC has unfortunately become politicized. Flesh that out for us, if you would.
Yes, well, in the last several weeks, indeed several months, the SEC has become mired in partisan political politics, particularly with regard to the issue of the appointees for the new Accounting Oversight Board. These politics ultimately led to the resignation of Harvey Pitt on Election Day. The SEC is supposed to be an independent agency, and I think it's very important that the next head of the SEC put this agency back on the road to being an independent agency.
As you note, it's independent. Could he have been fired had he not stepped down?
I think there's a big question about that. I think it's probably good for the country and the SEC that this did not have to be tested. That's a big issue. Now,
here's an interesting situation. Pitt ends up having to resign over this Webster nomination.
Right.
But we haven't heard about Webster, withdrawing his name from or resigning this Accounting Oversight Board.
Right. I think that's very curious and is a part of the politics at play here. Unfortunately, Harvey Pitt was probably more expendable than William Webster, on the other hand, from a political point of view. On the other hand, it seems to me that William Webster should seriously consider whether he ought to, at this point in this climate, take charge of this new agency.
All right, now here we have the White House Chief of Staff saying yesterday on Meet the Press that they're in no hurry to find a new SEC chief. Do you not worry that in this climate, as we see on our air, perp walks and handcuffs and jumpsuits, that this is exactly the time that we do need to see that position filled as soon as possible and with someone as credible as possible?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, part of the problems here came about because the White House and Congress were so slow in appointing all of the commissioners in this administration.
So in 30 seconds or less, what's it take to be a good SEC commissioner?
I think you have to be above politics, yet at the same time be able to deal with the politicians. I think you have to understand the mission of the agency. It's probably a good idea if you have some legal training, because otherwise the staff decides everything.
Is Frank Zarb the guy?
Oh, I don't know about that.
Okay, you don't want to commit to...
I don't want to commit to a particular person. Frank's a great guy, and he would be an interesting chairman, but I don't want to commit to that.
You are a diplomat, Ms. Karmel. Thank you very much for being with us today. Roberta Karmel, Brooklyn Law School professor, former SEC commissioner, joining us from New York City.